The New York Rangers have released their 2023-2024 training camp invites, and there's a few notable prospects that will be invited and will be participating in this year's training camp. So we're going to go over that in this video, taking a look at all the top prospects and some of the lower tier prospects as well that will be in main camp, and letting you guys know where I think they'll more than likely play this year. Let's get right into it here, starting off with Adam Sikora. This guy, he's pretty great. He had a really good year this past season in the top Slovakian men's league. Came over at the end of the year, played a couple games, couple in the playoffs, couple in the regular season there. Got a bit of a taste of North American pro hockey and, did decent there. Nothing insane. Had an assist in the playoffs in 4 games. Looked pretty decent there overall, but more than likely he will end up being a middle 6 winger in the AHL this year, I'd imagine. He's a good prospect, former second-round pick in the 2022 draft. Definitely a guy to keep an eye on, and definitely a guy who will be playing at this year's World Junior Championship as well. So definitely keep an eye on Team Slovakia because they will have a New York Rangers prospect. The next guy we have here is American-born prospect Brett Berard from Providence College. Had a bit of a down year from the previous season points-wise, but he still played decent, and definitely a guy who's going to more than likely be in the bottom 6 this year, I'd imagine, in the AHL, and maybe he can get that third line spot. Maybe he can be on the second penalty kill here and there as well. That's definitely a possibility, but he's just got to work on his overall game, I think. At the NHL level, he's not going to be a top 6 kind of guy, but can he be a solid 4th, maybe 3rd line winger? We'll have to wait and see, but I think he definitely has the capabilities of being a decent 4th line winger. He's got that bite to him, got that edge to his game. He definitely can be a bit scrappy for his size. I mean, he's pretty small, like about 5'9", but he definitely has that edge to his game. He can play pretty physical for his size, especially. He's got a lot of energy out there. Maybe a bit of a smaller Tyler Mott type guy, that's a possibility. Maybe minus as good as penalty killing wise. I think that's definitely kind of a possibility for him, but he's definitely got a bit of an edge, got some physicality to his game, but although he's small, he definitely plays it bigger than he actually is. So I'd imagine he probably is somewhere in that bottom 6, maybe a 4th line winger. Next up here we have is 6'8" Adam Edstrom. Now this guy is quite the prospect here. He's obviously, like I said, 6'8". He is huge, but he's got some pretty good talent. He's definitely, an overall pretty skilled player, especially for his size. He's, like I said, huge. He's got good playmaking, decent shot, good hands. Actually, for his size specifically, he has very good hands, which is definitely what you want to see. Pretty good skating as well, especially for a 6'8" guy. He can definitely move quite well and is fairly agile, especially for his size. He's not overly physical, for a 6'8" kind of guy, but he still can definitely hold his own in that department. And, he's coming over from Sweden, the top Swedish league, so, over there they're not crazy physical, but for a guy like him, I'm sure he'll be able to acclimate to the North American style of game, more than some other guys could. So that is definitely not going to be too big of a deal. But, a pretty solid overall prospect. Probably projects more as a bottom 6 kind of guy, maybe a 4th liner, but definitely not too bad. I'd imagine he's going to play in Hartford this year for sure. He's already played a couple games last year at the end of his season from Sweden. He came over, but I'd imagine he's probably, again, in the bottom 6 like a Brett Berard this year in the AHL. Next up we have here is Dylan Garand. I'd imagine he will be splitting time or starting in the AHL this year. He needs more experience, needs a lot more games played in the AHL here, so I'd imagine him and Louis Domingue are either going to share the net at kind of a 50-50, 45-55 kind of split, or they'll go with Dylan Garand as a starter and he'll probably play 60-40 kind of split there. That's also possible. We don't really know what's going to happen there yet, but I definitely do imagine he's going to be at least in a tandem role or starting. He's not going to be the pure backup. I think he needs a lot more experience, a lot more game time. So definitely expect him to be at least a starter or a tandem kind of role with Louis Domingue down there in the AHL, but definitely a very talented goalie prospect and could definitely be the backup of the New York Rangers one day, especially next season once Quick is gone. Another guy here we have is arguably the top prospect in the Rangers system currently, Brennan Othmann. This guy, originally I kind of thought he would have had a decent chance of making the roster, but with signing guys like Blake Wheeler, I just kind of thought that spot was filled there with Blake. But we still definitely could see Brennan Othmann at some point this year make the step and make his debut in the NHL. We did see last year Will Cooley make his debut, so it's definitely possible we could see Othmann do it this year, or Will Cooley will get him in a second. Brennan Othmann, though, had an amazing year with the Peterborough Petes this year after being traded from the Flint Firebirds, won the OHL Championship, won the World Cup Finals, looked pretty good there as well, finished 3rd out of 4 teams with the Petes, so he had a great year this year, really refined his overall game. His defensive game got a lot better, which is definitely what you want to see. And I'd imagine he's going to be in the top 6, maybe top line in the AHL this year, potentially alongside Will Cooley, who we could see, Will Cooley on the left side, Brzezinski down the middle maybe, and then you have Austin on the right wing as that top line. That is definitely a possibility. Will Cooley had a very good year last year, finished first on the team in goals in the AHL and second on the team in points, so he had a very good year in his rookie year in the AHL. That's definitely what you want to see out of a former second-round pick who plays an overall good two-way game, very physical player, can fight, can hit, can scrap, battle in the corners. He's just a really tough player, can score goals, can battle in front of the net, pretty good in front of the net as well, screening, tipping, that kind of stuff. So definitely could have a very good player in Will Cooley there, who plays a very good, solid two-way game. Next up here we have is Bryce McConnell-Barker, one of my favorite prospects in the Rangers system currently, a former third-round pick in the 2022 draft. This guy was drafted as a very good two-way, more defensive centerman, but this year really broke out in his overall offensive game, and that is definitely something to take note of because he was on one of the worst teams in the entire OHL. He was the captain. Not really much he could do there. The team was just awful. I mean, he played great. I watched a couple of games live, but overall, he had a really good year, and definitely we saw a big breakout offensively, so hopefully he can carry that on to next year and have another great year where the Soo Greyhounds are expected to be a much better overall team as well. They had a couple draft picks this year, so they definitely should be a lot better. Next up, we got some lower tier prospects. Not going to go too in depth on them, but guys like Matthew Rempe, another massive 6'8" centerman right around there. He's very tall, very physical as well, can scrap, can hit, can score a bit. Probably more of a fourth line kind of role this year in the AHL, maybe in the ECHL. We'll have to wait and see, but definitely an all right prospect there. Nothing too crazy though. Guy like Bobby Trevigno, a former undrafted free agent, had a good year last year in his first full year of pro hockey. Looked decent, a little disappointing overall, but maybe he can have a bit better of a year this year. I'd imagine he's probably on the third, maybe second line, but I'd imagine probably a third line role for him. Ty Emberson, a very solid, upper tier kind of AHL D-man, played pretty solid last year. Could be a low-key kind of NHL call-up this year, you never know, but definitely a decent old D-man there. Same thing with Brandon Scanlon, kind of in the same spot there. I'd probably say Emberson's a bit better, but Scanlon, another kind of decent AHL, 20-year-old, maybe mid-20s to low 20s kind of prospect. Getting a bit up there in age, same thing with Emberson, but definitely too solid, maybe potential call-up prospect, you never know. I got Talon Boyko and Olaf Lindbaum, two guys who are going to be in the ECHL more than likely this year, two goalie prospects. Olaf had a pretty disappointing year last year in the ECHL, but we'll see what happens there. And two decent goalie prospects, you never know. And Talon Boyko is a massive 6'8", so definitely has that size there to be something one day for sure. Overall, though, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have, please smash the like button and definitely comment down below your guys' thoughts on these prospects and who are you most excited to see and who do you think is going to be the top call-up candidate here out of these guys. I think it's probably going to be for the forward side of things, Brennan Hoffman or Will Cooley, and for the defensive side of things, it's probably going to be like a Ty Emberson or Brandon Scanlon. But in the AHL, side of things, it's definitely going to be more of a Zach Jones type role, I'd imagine, if he's not already in the NHL. But thanks for watching, guys, and see ya.